so this video is called or titled Places to Keep Your Stuff. All right, this is Josh, and let's just jump right into it. Now, it doesn't matter if your school has lockers, doesn't have lockers, whatever, right? I want to talk through some situations that I see in the workplace, school place, whatever you want to call it. If you are super great, all right, we'll call you the super users of organizational stuff. You have some kind of accordion or file system, right? Where you have like all these different categories and maybe they're even labeled and stuff with stickers. I mean, if you're at that level, that's super amazing, all right? But then we have people that are kind of like somewhere in between, you know, they're kind of like the medium level people here. And usually what they do is they have some kind of like pile system. Piles of stuff, right? They're like, okay, that's my pile for this, and this is my pile for the semester, and this, all right? And then we have people, we'll call them the poorly organized people. And what I would recommend for them would be to just have some kind of basic system where you just have a tub, all right? Or maybe like a shoebox, all right? Because what you're doing is you're just taking everything that you're bringing home and you're just putting it in one place, okay? I would say these are the three types of systems that I've seen work or that people are currently using. Some are obviously better than others, but let's talk through all of that, all right? Now, when it comes to all of this stuff, I see students that are just struggling and trying to figure out, where do I put all these things? I got so much paper. I mean, even as an adult, like I get mail and then I go to meetings and people hand me packets of paper and they give me flyers for this. And I'm like, I don't have space. Like, I don't know, I guess you'd need a office in your house the size of like a Staples or Office Depot in order to manage the amount of paperwork you get. And it just gets more and more, believe it or not, as an adult. Like it just keeps coming in. I'm like, what is all this? And so you do have to figure out, what are you going to do with all this stuff? Because there's too much. So if you're starting out, or I guess even if you're not, I do like to play a game when I work with students, and it's called How Fast, actually let me write this down. How fast can you find blank? All right. How fast can you find, and then fill in the blank. Now, for some of you guys that aren't organized, it might be, how fast can you find your right shoe? It might be, how fast in the house can you find your backpack? But then moving on from there, it could be, how fast can you find your homework for math class that has to be turned in? How fast can you find a pencil in your room? These are the kind of questions that I like to ask, the kinds of questions, because it really helps me see, like, where are you at? Okay. Are you just like, I don't know, man, I come home, I drop my backpack, like I go eat a snack, and then before I know it, it's like the backpack explodes and there's stuff everywhere. I don't even know where my calculator is, or my cell phone, or this, or an eraser that I had last week. Okay. You got to kind of know, what is your situation? How fast can you find things? If you can't find things quickly, then you obviously need to start coming up with a way to organize them so that you know where everything goes. Now, I do want to just take a quick second and talk about, here, I'll write it up here, Google Drive, all right, OneNote, all that kind of stuff. Amazing resources, great ways for you to keep all of your work organized. But I see a lot of students that just throw everything into Google Drive. They're like, oh, I'll label it later. I'll do something. So if you're that type of person, now you just have hundreds of files from all these teachers and PDFs and all these notes and things. You have no way of knowing what's where. And you're like, I think I labeled it blank. Or maybe it was like, you know what? I saved that on my birthday. So then it's probably like dated around my birthday. So let me sort by date. If you're starting out with stuff like this, I would say at the least, when you're labeling digital files, can you do this? If it's for math, can you just start with math and then maybe like a space and then start your thing like homework or lesson 7.2 or quiz, whatever. But if you start like math and then take a space or underscore, whatever you want to do, or a dash, and then a title, at least you're labeling everything with math, science, language arts, homework, sports, parents, whatever. You can start with this label up here and then start to go into it. So at least when you then go to search for things, you can start, search in the search taskbar thing, math, and then it brings up just the math homework. All right, just a little tidbit. I think that it's helpful because otherwise, and I've done it myself, I'm just, oh, that's important. I should save it. I should save it. I should save it. And it just becomes this massive dumping station for everything that you have. All right. Now, if you're in one of these situations, no matter what one you rank, super, medium, or poorly organized, at the end of the week, you should be purging all of your stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to say weekly purge. You got to go through this stuff once a week and just kind of look through it, because honestly, there's 3 places where you should have stuff. You should have stuff in your locker or your backpack. You should have stuff in a tub or some kind of space in your house. And then the third place where you should have stuff is in the trash. All right. And I know a lot of teachers won't say that. They'll be like, don't throw everything away, but at the end of the day, honestly, there's a lot of worksheets you'll do. Maybe it's a practice for something to get ready for a quiz. You just don't need it. Don't hold on to it. If you don't have an office the size of like a building, then you can't keep everything. And you got to be able to let stuff go. Now, maybe you want a parent to help you sort that. And so a tub system is kind of nice because you're just throwing it in and go, well, at the end of the week, I'm going to look through this and be like, don't need it, don't need it, don't need it. And for a lot of students, that's really liberating because they like throwing stuff away. They're like, whew, I can get rid of that. It's something that I don't need anymore, and I'm going to be okay without it. So let's take a couple emails, and then we'll finish up this video. Let's see here. I got a female 11th grader. She says, I may get cut from the soccer team because of my grades. What can I do? I would own it. I would go to your coach and say something like, just so you know, I'm failing this class, or just so you know, I need to do this. But then, don't just say the just so you know part. Also kind of own it and say, but I'm working on it. But I talked to the teacher, but I did this. And if you're not good with that whole one-on-one, because maybe your coach is super scary or they're too serious or whatever, send them an email. If you do nothing, they're going to find out because, all those people that coach, we get the list from the dean of all the grades. Like we know who's making grades and who isn't. So it's better if you're preemptive in that and you're able to just own it and say, just so you know, here's what's going on. And then I would say work on your lowest grade first and tackle that class and then kind of build your way up. So it's not easy, all right? But you got to be able to own it. You got to be able to set yourself up by going to the teacher and saying, and maybe even tell the teacher, be like, I'm going to get dropped from soccer. What can I do? Is there extra credit? Can I turn this in again? And some schools have policies where you might not get credit for it, but maybe they'll be able to make an exception if they see that you're going the distance and really invested in your learning. And be honest with them and say, like, I really want to play my sport. I'm just not good at this class. What can I do? Can I turn this in? Can I do this? Is there something else I can do? Because this stuff is just hard. I'm trying, but it's just not my thing. And maybe the teacher will then be able to work with you on that. And maybe they'll have some good ideas of ways you could study or give you some additional support. All right. The next one here says it's a male 9th grader. I always fail short answer tests. Is there something I can do so that I don't fail every single time? Well, I hope you're not failing every single time. But when it comes to short answer tests, those are tricky. And so I would say look for patterns with what your teacher does. They're probably looking for some key words, some key topics, some key phrases. And if you can ask your teacher in advance before the short answer test, maybe find out what some of those might be. And if you have some kind of study guide or something, I don't know why I'm pointing to this, but if you have some kind of study guide, then maybe you could go through the study guide and say, oh, these are key points, and highlight them. And then when you get your test, maybe just write those down. Be like, oh, what were those key points? Okay, it was this, it was a title, there were a couple dates. Just start writing all that stuff down on the back of your test as fast as you can. And then it's down and it's written, and then you can use it in the short answers. But short answer responses are tricky because sometimes you don't know exactly what the teacher's looking for. Hopefully you've had a short answer test in the past, because that's some teachers, that's all they do. And so think about way you could answer the test questions. Think about any kind of main ideas or main points that you could ask a teacher about ahead of time. And then as you get your test, maybe just start writing all that stuff down. Like keep it in your mind. Walk into the classroom, be saying it to yourself, be looking at the paper and like put it away. The minute you get the test, boom, start writing everything down as fast as you can so that you have all your notes and then go, okay, now let me start to answer these short answer questions. All right. So getting back to this stuff, I do like the tub and shoebox way of working because I feel like for a lot of students, it's a great way to just kind of put everything in one place and then go through it at a later time rather than just saying, oh, I'm just going to keep it all on my desk, right? Because then the minute friends come over or something happens, you push everything from your desk onto the floor, into a drawer somewhere, and it doesn't get found. So by having it in a little place, it is kind of nice. If you want to have piles where you like turn them this way, that's fine. But you should be working towards getting some kind of very organized system. Hopefully by the end of the school year, we got months left, and start small, right? If you're super organized now, that's amazing. And now start thinking about what should be kept after this semester, after this school year? Maybe you have siblings and, they're going to take the same class. Maybe you want them to see your work as well. But if you're down here, don't panic, all right? This is a great way to just say, hey, here's all my work. It all comes out of your backpack because you can't walk around with these things. I see students, I'm like, what happened? And their organizer, planner, zipper binder thing is just exploding with paperwork. And they're like, well, it's all in here. It's all in there until they open that thing up in class and it just slides out and goes all the way down the classroom. And then, half of it gets stepped on. If you have a way to kind of keep stuff at home, this is going to be helpful. And then start thinking about how you can purge this work on a weekly basis so you are throwing stuff away and putting stuff in the trash. You don't need to keep everything. And there's a lot of classes, and I know it's like, we're burning through trees and everything, and people hand you so much paperwork, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to get rid of some of it because it's just too much. All right, so I'll see you in the next video. I think you're doing a great job. Keep sending me messages if you have questions you want me to answer on the show. I'll talk to you soon.